have arrived at the Yas Marina circuit on the Yas Island in the United Arab Emirates for the running of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the penultimate race of the season. Coming into this week, one team has completed their lineup for next season. That team in question being the American-based Haas team, as they have announced after so much speculation that GP2 Championship contender Jared Fosbury will make his top-class debut with the team next season. Jared has had a brilliant 2018 season despite not winning a race this season so far. He currently lies third in the GP2 Championship with a golden opportunity to win it at the GP2 Finale this week in Brazil, and his team ART have the advantage in the Teams Championship by being 12 points ahead of Spanish team Campos. Jared used to be a test driver for Haas last season after 3 seasons being the Ferrari test driver. However, this season he hasn't been doing any testing duties and has instead been focusing on trying to claim the GP2 Championship this year, which, as we have mentioned, he has a good chance to do so, as he is 4 points behind Championship leader and the man he will team up with at Haas next year, Chris Chatfield. Jared will be over the moon to know he will be competing in the top class next season, and he'll be looking to do brilliantly in his rookie year. His announcement means Haas will be the second team on the grid to have an all-British lineup, with the other team being Ferrari, who will be retaining championship contender Amar Khan and 2-time world champion Joseph Willows. In terms of Roberto Garma, who was also a contender for the second Haas seat, he might find himself in a spot of bother. He does have a slim chance to be retained at McLaren next year. However, it appears that Kirishima De Rosa, Oliver Glazebrook and Nicola Zorbach are the more likely contenders for that second McLaren seat alongside Paolino Tomaselli. However, even if he does lose his job at McLaren, it might not be all doom and gloom for Roberto, as he does have a chance to return to Sauber next year for the first time since 2016 when the team rebrands itself as Alfa Romeo. However, he will have stiff competition for that second Alfa seat alongside Gabriel Gomez, with the likes of Andre Verderi, Bence Waldinger and the team's test driver Balint Zolga all being contenders along with Roberto. Although Balint, despite being the test driver, is seen as an outsider given that he lies 21st in the GP2 standings. It will be very interesting to see who McLaren and Alfa Romeo sign as their second driver for 2019 respectively, and whether Roberto will be able to save his top class career or not. And that is it for the penultimate episode of the GP4 OC News Series 6. Just 5 more seats are left to be announced now, which consist of the remaining seat at McLaren, the remaining seat at the renamed Alfa Romeo, and the 3 biggest ones, which are the remaining seat at the renamed Racing Point, the remaining seat at Renault, and the remaining seat at Red Bull. The final team news of the season will break at the Brazilian Grand Prix next week. Who will get the final 5 seats, which drivers will miss out on a drive, which test drivers will be announced early, and who will be the lineup for the 2019 GP2 season? Tune in to the final practice session of the season next Tuesday at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache in Interlagos, Sao Paulo. Well, you've already heard my voice a little bit earlier on in the news vid, but you're hearing it again, because if you would have seen at the bottom of the news vid, we're actually doing a trial for commentary for practice and qualifying. Hello everyone, I am JW97 and welcome to practice here at Abu Dhabi. I'm not the only one in the commentary box, I'm joined by Will Neller. How are you doing?
Hiya guys, good afternoon. Welcome to a lovely practice here in Abu Dhabi. Great to be here.
A lot of you may have never heard his voice before, but that is how he sounds like.
Unfortunately, sorry about that. Can I apologise at this point?
So anyway, we're here at Abu Dhabi. As you can see, as per usual, it is sunny here at Abu Dhabi because it never rains there, to be honest with you. It's a bit like Bahrain, although 2015 did have a wet race. So yeah, 25 minutes on the clock. Should be an interesting session.
Let's hope so. We'll see a bit more with regards to who's going to be leading up the front. Obviously, a little bit of a 3-way battle for the lead. So let's see who comes out on top in practice.
Yeah, indeed, definitely. And we're about to start the session now. So, as mentioned, it is a 25-minute session. This is the penultimate race of the season, and we have 3 contenders left in the Drivers' Championship. It's the 2 Mercedes and a Ferrari. Florian Volker, Amar Khan, and Franco Lopez. All 3 of them only separated by 5 points. Very, very close indeed. Of course, Florian Volker has a slim chance to win the championship this week, but he will need quite a lot of luck. And personally, I do think it will probably more likely go down to the wire. But you never know, of course. As the late Murray Walker said, anything could happen in Grand Prix racing, and it usually does.
Very wise words indeed, Joe. Very wise words. Who are we backing in terms of your favourite going into this weekend?
Ooh. To be honest, I honestly don't know, to be honest. I mean, throughout the season, it has been pretty close between Mercedes and Ferrari in terms of sessions. So it could go either way with this one. In terms of Red Bull, I mean, obviously they were strong last time out in Mexico, of course, just missing out on the win. I think Joel Hutter could say that he could probably blame George Rope for that one, given that George kind of forced him wide at turn 1 after Joel came out of the pits, potentially costing him a win there. So who knows? He's only really got 2 races left now to get a victory because, of course, let's not forget, Joel Hutter didn't sign up for the 2019 season, so he will not be in the top class next season, along with Etienne Jones and along with Ennis Pratchke and David Greenwood as well. So that's that really, as we look at Kirishima Doloza, who is the first on the track. So as we mentioned in the news vid a little bit earlier on, there is only 5 seats left now for 2019. Now, me and Will are not going to go through the predictions of that because we are part of the sign-up process. We don't want to give too much away. But only 5 seats left, not 6, Michael Clark. But anyway, just got to get a little cheeky dig in there. So, anywho, Kirishima Doloza on the track. Obviously, he's not confirmed yet for next season. He's had quite an up and down season, must be said. I think the only high point for him was 2nd place at Monaco. But how do you rate Kiro's season so far, Will?
I've always thought he's a very solid driver, Kira. I've always thought he's always had a lot of potential. Even when he was at Sauber, I always thought he was one of the more standout drivers in the midfield pack. It's been a bit of a tough return. I think he's had 2 very good years outside of Formula One, obviously in Formula E and DTM. So he's performed well, and obviously coming back into Formula One, it's been a bit of a culture shock, I think. But I think he'll come good. I think it's a big session coming up for him now. He really has to perform if he's going to have any chance of retaining that McLaren Renault seat. But I rate him as a driver, and it would be a real shame if we were to lose him at the end of this season.
Indeed, definitely. Of course, as you mentioned, he had 2 very strong seasons previously in DTM and Formula E. Both of them just missing out on the title, finished runner-up on that. Formula E, he was leading for most of the season and then lost it at the last race to Jake Galloway, who was known as Seb Pricksalt back then. But he is now Jake Galloway. He's got his real name now. And then in 2017, of course, moved to DTM, again missing out on the title to Gabriel Gomez, who, of course, is competing in the top class as well. And, of course, Gabriel will be in the top class again next season, staying at Alfa Romeo. You would have noticed as well the tyres as well. For the first ever time, after quite a lengthy drag of whether they'd actually be drawn out, we are actually using the super hard tyres at long last. So take that, F1. We're actually using the tyres, unlike yourselves. But, anywho...
whether they end up being a good race tyre remains to be seen, but we shall see. They do look good on that McLaren, though.
Do indeed. It definitely suits the papaya orange, that's for sure. Well, given how the hard tyres usually work out in this series, given that the one-stop is usually the way to go, I think you could see a lot of one-stop OP with these tyres. But we're right back on board with Doloza. It looked like, it was kart and burn. Looked like they're having a little bit of a ding-dong, probably getting some race practice involved, maybe some slipstream practice, who knows. But this won't do Car's first lap any good. But of course, this is only practice. This is not the main qualifying session. As we ride on more with Kiro again. He's just come out of Sector 2 there. Now, one of the interesting things about Abu Dhabi on Grand Prix 4 is that, is unlike in real life, apart from the fact that that we actually produce better races on Grand Prix 4 around here than what they do in real life. Well, it's true. It is true.
Not hard, Joe. Not hard, mate. I think that's the last thing we can say for it. But, yeah. Well,
it is true at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Apart from that as well, a lot of people have noticed over the last few years here at Abu Dhabi that the lap times have looked a little bit off, it must be said. A lot slower. Chung there makes a little mistake there going through into that right-hander. Looked like she might have locked up there.
Deep into turn, what is that? That's oh god, it's just at the start of Sector 3. So yeah, a little bit deep into turn, whatever that is. There we go. Just got onto the... I think just got onto the curb a little bit there, just a little bit onto the curb, and it just upset the car enough to send her a little bit off to the left-hand side. Recovered well though, should be fine.
I mean, it's only her first lap. She'll only improve on that a little bit later on.
Your range, I used to do it a lot myself. Always, it's never told me wrong.
Indeed. Obviously, in the last race, of course, Chung debuted a new helmet. She still has it this weekend as well. Although, what was quite funny is that when people said that helmet looks nice, Laura, she acted like she kind of forgot that she handed in a new helmet. But she has got a new helmet. But that's how much time she's lost as a result of that mistake. At the moment, Hutter's currently top at the minute, but only 5 people have done a lap time so far in this session. And now a few more have just posted on the board there.
Nice lap from Tomaselli there, going into third. Really nice. And oh, hang on, who's that gone top there? That's sorry, my stream has not worked. That is Car. And then Lopez goes quicker. Wow. Okay, so the time's flying in at the moment. Absolutely flying. Back on board with De Rosa though.
I believe all 22 cars come out this time, because in the past it used to be like 18.
Sage, was it?
Yeah, it's all cars come out.
Yeah, all cars come out now, so you should see all 22 drivers putting a lap quite early on as Volker tries to make a move on the Force India.
Oh, that was brave there, though. That was brave.
Force India, I believe, was Dhabi, now Terranon, of course. Now, Terranon, not confirmed at a seat next season. Of course, the renamed Racing Point, as they'll be known next season, will have George Roke at the team, returning to the team for the first time since 2010. It's a bit of a question mark as to who will be his teammate, though, because we do know that at least one of the current Force India drivers will be leaving the team at the end of the season. It's just really a question of which one it will be. So, in the live chat, who do you think will get that second Racing Point seat alongside George Roke? Because it will be very interesting to see what will happen after this week. This is basically everybody's last chance to make an impression, really, because Brazil doesn't count towards the sign-up process. So pretty much last chance for everyone to make an impression. Same with the GP2 guys as well, who are in contention for a top-class seat. Obviously, they're at the finale this week at Brazil. 7 drivers mathematically can win that championship, although I do believe at least 3 of them could be, well, up to 3 of them, I should say, could be out of that championship after today due to the qualifying bonus points. So it will be very interesting to see what will happen. That qualifying session will, of course, come later on tonight at 7 p.m. BST, standing for British Summer Time, of course, as Carl makes his way back to the top of the timing sheets by 0.4 of a second ahead of Lopez.
Wow, very good. I'm just looking at the times down there. There's a couple of drivers out of place. I'm looking at George Roke down in P18. I think Evan Burns only just remaining in 21st. So I don't know whether they're getting caught up at all in the middle of the melee. But a few drivers out of place here and there. I think Franco Gamba's even out of place there. But then equally, a few good laps elsewhere. Motlin's just put in a 121.4, I think. Sorry, not 121.4. He's gone a second and a bit slower. That would have been very fast if it was 121.4 around here. He's just gone into 6th anyway. Roberto Gamba as well, just below him in 7th. It's very impressive stuff from him. A driver fighting for his life at the moment.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of traffic so far in this practice session, hence why you're seeing Brian Volker at the moment down in 12th position. I don't think that's a real representative of his time. But as mentioned a little bit earlier, the gap between the top 3 now, because there is only 3 contenders left. Joseph Willows, of course, bailing out of the championship after Mexico. There's only 3 contenders left, as Byrne makes a little error there at the exit. So let's see what happens here then. So Lopez just overtakes.
Argy-bargy here. Oh, no, maybe not.
I think Lopez just got through there. I think Byrne might have just carried a bit.
He just let him. Yeah, I think that's where Evan's smart. He just let him go. I think there's no point holding him up as well on a simulation. There's no point trying to sacrifice both for the sake of it. I think he stays bottom of the timesheets though, 22nd. It's a bit of a slow start for Evan.
At the moment, yes, indeed, as he makes his way through this quite pointless chicane, it must be said. A lot of people claim that chicane is a bit pointless in real life for it to be there, really, because it kind of damages the flow, just like this chicane, to be honest with you. But there is obviously a reason why that chicane is there. It's because if they didn't have that chicane and somebody loses their brakes coming down to this corner, it would be a massive accident, given how close the barrier got to the track. As Chung did manage to do a better lap. She's now up into 8th position, as Hutter getting himself held up behind the manner of Etienne Jones. These two, of course, ironically, won't be in the top class next season, as we mentioned, of course, both of them not signing up for 2019. So obviously we knew coming into the sign-ups that at least 2 seats would be up for grabs, and they've already been taken, of course, I believe. Well, yes. Well, I say that. There is still 1 more seat at Red Bull as well, which could go either way. Of course, we've known for a while that Gal is under a bit of pressure at the moment, and given the contenders that are up to be Franco Gamba's teammate next season. So we'll be very interested to see who Red Bull goes with there.
Absolutely.
Who looked like got a little bit of a wiggle going through the chicane there, but no.
Second time she's had a little bit of an oversteering moment, or understeer moment. Toro Rosso seeming a little bit tougher to drive potentially around this track. It doesn't seem to be settling quite as well as some of the other cars. It's the second time Chung's had a little bit of a moment.
Well, in the last race, of course, the team didn't score any points. De Rosa's got a problem. We've already got a mechanical failure.
Dear, okay.
So our first yellow flag of the day. What is the issue? If we were able to look at the steering wheel, it might give us a clue on that, unless because I don't think it's going to show us the the problem, unless there'll be a graphic up on the top left that usually tells us what the problem is. But De Rosa has pulled off the track, so he'll have to run to the T-car, because T-cars do exist on Grand Prix 4, of course. And he's pulled off, obviously, at the hotel section of the track with just over 15 and a half minutes to go in this session. So already a setback for McLaren. I was about to say before De Rosa had his breakdown that Toro Rosso are currently in a fight with McLaren for 8th place in the Constructors. McLaren 8 points behind them at the moment, and over the last few races McLaren look like they've managed to get their form together, but it just seems like the reliability is still keeping them back. Let's see then, as we have this mod of the head movement, which I'm not particularly a fan of, and it was a gearbox issue. A gearbox issue with the Polish driver. And speaking of Polish drivers, Jay McKenzie should have the Polish flag back on his car, unless Yuri forgot again. Anywho,
bit of a shame that for De Rosa. He really didn't need that. I think he could have done with an incident-free practice and qualifying and sets himself up well for the race. So a little bit of a setback there. Someone, again, as we noticed, fighting for his life a little bit. Not how he would have liked to have started, I don't think.
No, absolutely. As we mentioned a little bit earlier on, he is obviously trying to save his job in the top class, essentially, given that there is still one McLaren seat available, and they'll obviously end up partnering alongside Paolino Tomaselli, who will be joining the team next season from Sauber. I can't wait to see, really, what Paolino can do in that McLaren next season, given that his first 2 seasons here in the top class have been amazing. The first year last season in 2017, with a car that had a year-old engine, absolutely obliterated his teammate Felix Sonntag, and then this season he's just continued where he left off basically last season, but with a much better car, it must be said. Been a consistent points finisher, hence why he's in the top 10 in the championship.
I mean, yeah, I'll wax lyrical about Paolino. I think he's been absolutely superb. Breath of fresh air last year, really reinvigorated that Sauber team that was in a little bit of a rut, and this year continued on the same path and has just not stopped. I think he's been absolutely superb and a real breath of fresh air for everyone watching in the GP4 OC. I think he has been unbelievable and thoroughly deserved that McLaren move. Very glad he's got it. Oh, and his teammate, his old teammate, shall I say, has had a bit of an issue. What's happened there to Felix?
Looks like he's made contact with a Mercedes of his fellow compatriot, Florian Volker.
This is going to end well.
So it looks like the 2 Germans have got together down at this corner.
No! It's a weird one, that, isn't it? I think you can put a blame on both sides on that one, I'm afraid. It's a strange one. I don't know why Felix has moved over. At the same time, I don't know why Flo's going for the kamikaze move on a much slower car. I don't think he really had the corner. Bit of a strange one. No damage done, those teams, so maybe they both got away scot-free. Now Tiernan trying to get past. I think Flo should probably just let him go at this stage, but knowing Flo, he's not one to back down from something like this, even in practice. Let's just see how they get on. No, okay, yeah, now Tiernan's just going to let him go.
Yeah, well, what's quite ironic about that corner is that Florian had quite a controversial moment when he was at Ferrari last year, taking out his teammate and undoubtedly basically costing his teammate a chance at the championship. So that's that. But
no comment.
You could argue that probably gifted the title to Nella, but even so, Nella's second half of the season last season was basically the comeback of the season. Hence why, ironically, in his final season, he managed to win the title, of course, as Loa Chung, as we ride on board with now, heading down towards this straight where the 2 Germans had their little problem. Of course, they'll be joined by a 3rd German next season in the form of David Kupok, who'll be driving for the team that we were just viewing a little earlier, Toro Rosso, partnering alongside Matteo Catalan, which a lot of people were not expecting to be at the top class so soon, given that for most of his career he's been at Formula E. But a shocking one. He's not the only one that gets straight to the top class straight away. Rosetta Martinez, of course, the DTM champion, also making the step up to the top class straight away next season with Manor, alongside Maxim Titkov, as the Ferrari of Joseph Willows there just gets by on Evan Byrne. Evan will want to put the disappointment of Mexico behind him after the free stop definitely not working out for the Renault. He felt he could have had a chance for a podium last week, but it didn't quite work out for the Irishman in the end.
Absolutely, Evan is one of the better drivers along the grid. He's always had a lot of pace, raw pace. Even in that Renault, he's proven that he can drag it to some great results. He's had an absolutely superb season by his standards. I think the almost pole in Japan was a real highlight for him, and it is a bit of a shame that he's not been able to push onto the top 3. But I think he'll see a lot of promise, and going into next season, I think he can only think the sky's the limit going forward.
Pretty sure it was Hungary he nearly took pole.
Hungary.
But,
as you can tell, I really know my facts, guys. As you can see.
Yeah. Although I think I know why you said that, because Evan did actually take his first ever pole position at that track, I believe, in 2006 in a Red Bull. So
why was it a Red Bull? Yeah, funny how that goes. Time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah, time does fly when you're having fun. As we ride on board with Felix Sontag with the half and half helmet that he's chosen for this season. The blue obviously representing the fact that he's driving for Williams, and then he's merged basically the two helmets that he's had in the past, the red Schumacher helmet and the custom pink Schumacher helmet that he wore in the past. As we look at Laura Chung again, as in front of her there was an overtake from Mercedes on a manner there. That would have been Lopez, because Volker's just completed a lap. So still lots of movement going on. You get more overtaking in GP4 around this track than what you do in real life, that's for sure.
It does. It only works well for us.
It does indeed. That's pretty much that then, really. Now, any new viewers to GP4 will probably be wondering why this is the penultimate race and this isn't the finale like in real life. Well, for those who are new, back in the 2009 season, there was actually a vote on whether Brazil should always be the finale or not, given that people prefer Brazil as a final race, and I think in a lot of people's opinion it should be the finale in real life, but obviously due to contract reasons it obviously can't be. But we had a vote back in 2009 and a majority voted yes for Brazil to be the finale, so hence why this is this week and Brazil is next week, of course. So that's for anybody who's new to the series who is wondering why it's Abu Dhabi before Brazil rather than the other way around. So anyway, Laura Chung did improve, I think, on the time there. She currently is in the top 10 at the moment, and she'll obviously need to have these performances throughout this week and even next week as well in Brazil if Toro Rosso have any chance to beat McLaren in the Constructors.
Yeah, it's a funny one for Laura. Obviously, she's not been confirmed at the team, so it's a really tough one to keep yourself motivated, to keep pushing, bring that team back into the fold, obviously, knowing you're not going to be there next season. But she's drove admirably this year. You know, she's had a really good season, an unbelievable one, you could probably argue, in the terms of the first season in that top flight. Obviously, seen it done before, but she has come in, the only female driver on the grid, and beaten all expectations, absolutely trounced her teammate, done everything right. A massive, massive shame we're not going to see her next season, but hopefully we'll see her in some capacity going forward.
Well, maybe she will. We don't know yet, but it does seem it does seem like it's all not looking good for Chung to get a drive next season, it must be said. But yeah, just over 9 minutes to go in this session. But as you said, a very good year for her. She's made some quite good overtakes this season, must have said. I think the most notable one came at her home race in China, where she made that triple overtake down at the hairpin, which even shocked the host as well. How she was able to pull that one off, it was just incredible. Maybe an overtake of the year candidate. But yeah, she's been Miss Overtake this season, it must be said, and I think she'll be happy to have that reputation on her in the series. So anyway, she's about to start, finish off her current lap, as she's being held up by the manner of Etienne Jones in front, but will she get past at turn one? Yes, she will. Of course,
she's Miss Overtake. Of course she will. Superb.
She's very good on the brakes, it must be said.
Absolutely. She got that one there. Oh, hang on. Was that a wide?
Sontag getting involved in another collision.
Felix will not like that.
This time with Laura Chung. Now, was there contact, or was it that Sontag got scared off there? Let's have a look.
Oh, there was
contact.
Yeah,
right on the rear. Luckily, though, it didn't end up the same way as Rick Yan and Joel Hutter last season at the race last season. It is quite a rare glitch, to be honest with you, that pit exit. It's quite rare. It's not as frequent as what you see sometimes in Canada or even the fateful Singapore, which we're not going back to until maybe a better version comes out in the future. But that's that there. So,
funny one, that. I think Felix entering the track, he's got every right to bring his car out. Obviously, I just don't think he saw the Toro Rosso on the side. You know, it's a fairly inconspicuous accident away with changing the front wing, and Williams will be a bit annoyed that they've lost a vital part, but what can you do?
Yeah, more damage again for the Williams, and losing more track time, it must be said.
I'm sure they'll recover. I'm just having a look down at the times. Rogue's still not moved off of 17th. Still sort of meandering in the middle of the pack. Jay McKenzie as well, sort of meandering nowhere. He's not really set a lap that sets the pulses running, whereas Byrne as well stuck down there. I think the Renaults in general just struggling for pace. It's a bit of a congested midfield as well. You look at the times there, and everyone's sort of setting laps within half a second or so of each other, especially in that sort of underneath the top 10 especially. You've got Franco Gamba all the way down to Jay McKenzie separated by about 3/10. It's going to be very tight.
Very close indeed. Well, speaking of Franco Gamba, he did mention it in the live chat there, but he does actually have a grid penalty for this race, a 10-place grid penalty for the accident he caused with Felix Sontag. So even then, he's got a lot of work to do possibly in the race if he wants to try and pick up some good points here at Abu Dhabi. But it could be possible, as we've seen, as Lopez now goes to the top of the timing sheets now, because I believe Carr was there for a while.
Yeah,
but,
he was.
Now Lopez is at the top, as getting a bit held up here by Felix Sontag, because obviously Sontag has got the damaged front wing, but they're both coming into the pits anyway, so it didn't really matter. So they both come into the pits as we now ride on board with Roland Motra, another man who's trying to save his career, of course. As we mentioned a little earlier, there's only one seat left at the renamed Racing Point next season. George Roke, of course, grabbing one of those seats, and Mottram doing everything he can to be reunited with his 2010 teammate. But of course, he'll know that Tarabi will also want to try and get that seat if he can, as we now view Lin Campana, who is not under pressure, and he will be on the grid next season, as will Felix Sontag. Williams being one of two teams, I believe, at the moment, unless I've forgotten another team somewhere. No, one of three teams, I should say. They'll be retaining their current driver lineup for next season. So for Williams, it's nice to get a bit of consistency. Well, I'd say that, a bit of stability in the team, it must be said.
Absolutely. They've had a few years where they've just sort of changed drivers haphazardly. They've gone from one set to the next, going for random lineups at times. So it's nice to see them contain the two that they've got. I think Liam and Felix are both two superb drivers. I've raced with Felix lots. He's been my teammate, and he was superb when he was. And Liam, as we said, especially again first season up in the top class, he's had an absolute blinder, I think. So yeah, positive to see, very good to see. Are we live? Are we live?
We are live.
Yeah, I think we are.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so sorry, we lost Joe, I think. Right, okay, I will maintain commentary for a little bit as we watch Kira De Rosa setting a lap time at the moment. He's just coming up to the end of sector 1. Let's try and see where he. Oh no, maybe not. We'll have a look at Paolino Tomaselli instead. As he goes 7/10 slower in sector 1. Bit of a mixed bag for Paolino so far this session. Currently sitting in P10, 2 seconds off the pace. Still marginally ahead of his teammate. He'll be pleased with that, I think, going in qualifying tomorrow.
Something's happened to Armor.
As we watch Armar car being lapped by Maxim Titkov, that is something we haven't seen a lot. What's happened there? Oh, hang on. Right, okay, as we look at Armar here, coming out of the pits, I think he might have had a bit of contact.
It's the pit lane again.
Oh, not again. Well, we'll monitor this situation going into qualifying, but he just, again, similar to Felix, just comes out of the pits and doesn't see the racing point to his right, and takes a hit on the front wing just for his troubles. Who was the other Force India? Who is that?
It was now
Tiernan.
The new wider cars must have
Again,
made
another one who won't want to have any more
speed
mistakes going
lane.
into this session. I think he wants to try and...
I got my mic back.
Oh, there we go. Eli.
I don't know what happened there. I think my mic just went on me.
Happy days. We'll have a few technical difficulties here in the OC, you know. It makes a lot go around.
Well, it's a trial anyway. But
yeah.
As I was saying with the race commentary, I know from experience doing IFMC, how doing highlights around live commentary drags out the highlights. And we already have enough complaints as it is about the highlights being too long. So... basically, when you're doing highlights around live commentary, you're constantly having to wait.
Oh, dear me.
Oh,
we've had a big accident there. Oh, dear me. Well, that's a massive shunt. I don't know what's happened there. I think we're going to need to see a replay, but that is two.
It's the pit lane again.
Oh, is that the pits again?
The white cars must have made the pit lane more common.
Oh dear, I mean, we need to see that one again. I don't know who's come on inside. I'd imagine, based on the damage, I mean, look at the rear left of that Sauber. He's taken off the whole of that rear left tyre and I think front. So I'd imagine that he's probably the one coming out of the pits. Is George, maybe? I don't know. We have to see that again. Well, actually, he's lost his left front as well. So absolutely no idea what's gone on here.
We'll have to see.
But yellow flags are out at turn one. I think that's going to ruin the final flying laps of a lot of drivers. The likes of Gal, Volker, Willows are all going to have been annoyed by that. Let's have a look.
Okay, so Gomez, Roke was the one coming out of the pits. You were right there on that point. Let's have a look. And it's a similar incident to what we saw
that's a big one though, still, isn't it?
Similar one to what we saw with Jan and Hutter last season. So,
Wait,
that looks... there.
Look at the line that Gomez takes.
Yeah, similar to the one that Hutter took.
He just goes straight though, doesn't he? Look, and then he just doesn't see the fact that someone is coming out of the pits, and then he goes back in here. Look, goes right back into the tyre. They both lose the left. That explains that. It's a racing incident, but a pretty violent one at that. Oh, and Vogt has a few spins for his troubles. I'm sure he'll love that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a violent one as well. Big shunt, big shunt.
Yeah.
Wow.
But as I was saying before that crash happened, the thing with live commentary for the race, one, it kicks out George and we don't want to kick out George because he is a brilliant commentator already, and he's not always active around during live streams. He generally comes in towards the back end because he has a job. But on top of that as well. From experience of doing IFMC, because I did highlights with live commentary, you're constantly having to wait for the commentator to stop talking so you can transition. And then most of the time when you do wait, something else happens like 10 to 20 seconds later and you can't do a transition. So, if anything, it's best that it's just race highlights have the commentary and not the live race has commentary. But anyway, it looks like it's doing well for practice and qualifying, so I guess that is a positive. It seems everybody from the chat I've seen is liking that. But we are on to the final minute of practice, just 1 minute to go, and Titkov is just about to cross the line very soon now then, and he does not improve. Car is probably just going to get a bit of an installation lap in, possibly. As Sontag gets up to 11th there, he'll get one more lap, of course, unless the pit symbol came up for him. Willow's got held up. It's just a question, really, to see who's the last to cross the line, really, because for some reason on Grand Prix 4, anytime someone crosses the line, for some reason, Grand Prix 4 just doesn't seem to calculate that someone's crossed the line just after... What am I trying to say here? Basically, it doesn't take into account the timer at the top, really, and it basically just drags it out, especially when you've got GPX patch graphics on. For some reason, it just cancels out that bit of code for some reason. So, Campana across the line, he'll get one more flying lap in. Mackenzie, he'll probably get one more in, unless he gets the pit indicator on the def panel at the top. As Mackenzie now...
He really needs to improve here, though.
Yeah, let's have a look.
18.
Then again, It's only
Another
practice
lap
at the end of the day.
yeah.
You got to remember as well, a lot of these are on heavy fuel loads. Some of them got
Absolutely, yeah, of course.
little fuels as well. Looks like Roberto is going to be the last one to do a lap, and he is. So he's the last one across the line.
Though, from him today. Absolutely superb. Sat in 5th place. I think he'll be absolutely over the moon with that. Guy, as we said, has multiple times fighting for his life. I think he's done superb.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Evan Byrne now then coming around the final corner. This is his final lap, of course. As the checker flag is out, you'll see the checker flag man just on your right there, who for some reason is waving a yellow flag. A bit of a glitch there. But hey, Hume, that's that really. As Chung now then approaches the final corner to finish her final flying lap of the day. These guys won't be back on the track until tomorrow's qualifying session, which you'll hear us and will again, I'm pretty sure. As now Teranon improves to 14th position, getting in front of Franco Gamba. Here is Titkov now then approaching the final corner. And onto the pit straight he goes. Let's see if he's able to improve on his final lap. And he doesn't. Motchen's not going to have a chance to do a lap, so this was basically just a mileage run for him. Sontag, no improvement for him. Here comes Willows, currently in 6th position, and he remains in 6th. Jones will cross the line now, no improvement. Here is David Greenwood, the penultimate race he'll have with Toro Rosso in the final 4 races that he's doing with this team after Ennis Parachki made an immediate retirement from the series. Greenwood now then crosses the line, and he does not improve. Carr didn't have a chance to do a lap. Tomaselli, the superstar of this season, it must be said, for Sauber, crosses the line and goes up to 9th position. An improvement there from the Italian. Here comes Campana now then, rounding the final turn. And let's see, the American's got green on his death panel, so he might be able to improve, but he doesn't. Lost time in the last sector. Here's Mackenzie, he's on red. It doesn't look like he's improving unless he performs some kind of miracle in the last sector, but looking at the lap time down on the bottom there, I don't think he will. Across the line comes Mackenzie, and no improvement there. And Roberto's going to the pit. So that's that. That's all the laps done for practice then. So they are then. So the top 3 from that session, if I can just run it on the screen, it was Franco Lopez at the top, Armar Carr in 2nd, and Miklos Gau rounding out the top 3 in the end there. So that'll do it then for practice today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed mine and Will's commentary. Any takeaways from that practice session, Will?
Only that we're going to have a very close race and qualifying tomorrow, I'd imagine. It's going to be entertaining stuff. Can't wait for it.
Well, we'll be here for qualifying tomorrow, which will be at 4:30 p.m. BST. I'm sure you'll be there, won't you, Will? Will you be available?
Fortunately for those watching, of course I will.
Yes. So you'll hear our voices again tomorrow, but until then, I have been JW97. He's been Will Neller, and we'll see you tomorrow for qualifying at 4:30 p.m. BST. Don't forget, later today at 7 p.m. BST will be the GP2 qualifying session. I will be there as a co-commentator alongside Robert Ionescu, the main commentator for GP2, so look out for that. Will we have a few championship contenders drop out of that? We'll have to wait and see. But until then, we'll see you, for me at least, I'll see you later for GP2, but in terms of the top class, we'll see you tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. BST for the penultimate qualifying session of the season. Take care.